recording, so.
All right, good.
Matt Hernandez. Known you for how long now? How long have we known each other?
I moved back in 2010, so it was right around then. 2011, probably. The end of 2010 was my first photo shoot, October 31st.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So then it had to have been after that. I think. How did we even meet? Is because my ex-wife and Morgan.
Yeah, that was originally how we met.
They went to school with each other.
I don't remember when you took our first photos, but
it wasn't that. Yeah, it would have been early 2011, I bet.
And since you've been taking our family photos this entire time,
mm-hmm.
pretty much every year.
Not last year.
Until you're too busy.
Yeah, Morgan.
But that's good though.
Mad at me, but
you we'll get into that. But you've got things going on. You got a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So worked out a little bit together. How long did we work out?
That was a long time.
I gave that up. I kind of quit on you. The 5 a.m. schedule wasn't great.
Didn't you?
Poor Mitch.
That's it. He wanted to do 5 a.m. and I said no, and then I said yes to you, and he got mad at me. And then he started going with us, and then you would show up at like 10 after and just come in. Like walking like bad out of hell, and then just jump in without warming, no stretching, no nothing. You just immediately start doing heavy weight.
That's
you
what I do.
wouldn't say anything.
That's what I do. That was good. I like getting it out of the way, but man, I didn't feel like I accomplished anything while I was there.
Genesis. You had to avoid the spiders, so it was a distraction.
Yeah, for sure.
That place was terrible.
They could probably lift more than me.
Actually, it wasn't terrible. I liked it, but the spiders were an issue.
Yeah. So we've been around each other for a while. Mm-hmm. I feel like you and I have always had a unique relationship in that we can go at each other, but at the same time, like we know, even when we argue, we know we love each other and it's all good. Like, and I think those relationships are rare, but
there's some people that whenever they argue with me, I think that they're mad, and you act mad, but I don't for some reason. It's not that I don't take it serious, but I don't get offended by it.
Right.
I'm just like,
well, that's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've got those friends, but there's not many of them.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is why you can come in here and tell me how much of an idiot I am on the lighting, and I'm receptive to it.
You're not an idiot. You just, most people don't understand this kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Well,
I greatly appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
It means a lot for multiple reasons, but we'll get into why you're here and why you're the first person to come. But one of the reasons, honestly, is that you've done podcasts before.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to get into great depth on that, but like what kind of led to that, and what come of that?
Well, this is the first time that I've done the first episode of a podcast, Makers of Sport, with Adam Martin, he's close to Lexington, but he does sports graphic design. And he and I worked at the same company in Lexington, but we didn't work there at the same time. I came in right after him. But we have similar design styles, I feel like, and kind of entrepreneurial personality types. Like the girls that worked there said that we were similar people, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was weird because like we only met a couple times. We were friends. So I did the first episode of his Makers of Sport podcast. I don't know if he does that anymore or not, but it was a graphic design sports podcast. Yeah. It was pretty popular in the design world, actually. The Ohio State graphic designer, Sammy Silverman, who a lot of people know, when I went to go do an Ohio State shoot, he actually knew that I was episode 0 for Makers of Sport, which was kind of neat. I didn't even know he knew what it was because he's kind of famous in the design world.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was my first experience with it. And then my friend Jamie Bowler and I did one called Framed Up that was just about photography and life, basically, and faith also. And it kind of trailed off because we didn't really have a direction. It was kind of just all over the place. And people liked it. We had some viewers, not a ton, but I don't know. It just kind of, he kind of stopped doing photography for a little bit. And so that kind of put a wrench in it, and we never really started it back.
Right.
So, and then now I do YouTube myself for photography. And so that's not a podcast, but it's similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So that's
cool.
That's basically my experience with it.
Well, I didn't give you probably a proper intro. I feel like I've been really close to you, but at the same time, as I was trying to prepare and come up with all your accolades, like I'm not sure that I know what those are. So I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit. But you for probably most people listening to this, we might have some that don't know you, but a lot of people that are listening to this are probably going to know you. So they understand that you're a legend. But for those who don't,
That's not.
It is true. It is true. All right. So let's talk about that then. You have done photo shoots for University of Louisville, University of Kentucky.
Which you went with me on my first one of those.
I was getting to
Kentucky.
that.
Mhm.
That was getting to that. That was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done.
That was a long time
That was a long time ago. So, let's see. I don't know what year that was.
That's
but
kinda-
it was the year that Alex Poitras played for UK.
And Willie Cauley-Stein. Yeah.
Willie Cauley-Stein, and then Tyler Eulis,
Yes.
right?
But he wasn't at the shoot. It was just those two. I shot Eulis the next year. But,
Okay,
that
okay,
one was
okay.
just those two.
I specifically remember Alex Poitras because that was the one that you did the globe photo, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then you got the photo of me acting like I was dunking it.
I forgot
Which
about
later
that.
on you did with Blair Toller at Louisville.
That was,
I was jealous about that.
That was
You
a good one.
But no.
That was a good one.
I kind of snuck off work that day too. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. Yeah.
But I took off a whole day for
Yeah.
free to go with you to help you.
Yeah, you did behind the scenes and everything. That was really
pretty cool.
That was before behind the scenes was a big thing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was good. It was cool. I had no idea what I was doing, but
Yes, you did.
kind of, but not like I do now.
The photos are proof, and you're still making pretty similar photos.
Yeah, I mean they're more refined, but it's the same type stuff, definitely. Yeah.
So I feel like you've made a pretty good name for yourself. You do tons of classes, correct? You travel to do that for people like Westcott, right?
Yeah, so I speak for them. They're a lighting company based out of Ohio, pretty big one, and then I do workshops like dedicated. Like those are more like one-day things that I'll do for at camera stores, stuff like that. Like I haven't done one in a while actually, but or like at a trade show, and then I also do regular workshops, which are multi.
Yeah.
Like I do one here now a couple times a year, which I've already done two.
Really?
Yeah, and
for local people?
No, they're for people come in. People
Really?
come here. Yeah, people come here from all over the country, like California, New York, Texas, all over the place, Seattle.
And where do you hold those? I didn't know
at the
that.
studio.
Really?
Well, so we do. So the way that it works is we've expanded it to 3 days now. It started out as 2. We've done 4 of them, 2 of them this year. So the first day is at the studio. It's on Friday around noon, and I kind of just walk them through like stuff in the studio, like explain my process, and I'll get a student or 2, and we'll just do different lighting setups, and I'll walk them through. And then Saturday, we the last 2 times. One time we had a girl that's from here that is a Titans cheerleader. She came in for a headshot, and then she stayed just to model for us in a headshot like type environment.
Right.
And she was really good because she's done modeling before. And then we had a cheerleader from McCracken County come this time, who's still in high school. She did really good also, but we had her do like athletic pictures. We pulled the turf out in the studio, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and then so we did a regular headshot, and then that, and then after lunch we went to the field both days. We went to Tillman 2 times ago, and then this last time we went to McCracken. So I switched back. I use both schools, but so we got McCracken's quarterback and one of their best wide receiver, and I just walked them through different sports pictures for the whole afternoon, and then Sunday we went to Stark Sports Training and we got one of their coaches and then one of their athletes.
Love Matt, by the way.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He wasn't there, but Colby Krim modeled for us, one of his coaches, and then and Emma, who plays college softball, was the other model. And we just did a couple of different groups, got the haze machine in there. So that's that Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon I do an image critique with everybody. They put all their pictures in that they took the whole time we were there, whichever ones they want.
Yeah.
After they've edited them and retouched them, and then I'll go over them and critique them, and then we just talk about business stuff like that, and then they go home Sunday. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's probably a longer explanation than you needed.
No, that's good. Why do you do that, and what do you get out of it?
I like helping people and teaching, so they're paying they pay almost $2,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Tuition to come do it, because it's there's nothing like one-on-one training for
absolutely
for anything really. Because if it would be like you business consulting if somebody wanted to start a cleaning business,
right,
and they came in for an entire day, you would need to charge them accordingly for that, because you're giving them a lot of intimate information
knowledge
that you have that you have learned on your own the hard way,
right,
and so it's worth a lot of money. So and we limit the workshop, that one, to like 8 people. Then I teach more in Denver, in Colorado, which I actually for Summit, which I have the hat on. I didn't do that on purpose, but Summit. I partner with Summit Workshops for all of these, and so they have like sports workshops in California, in Denver, and in New York, which I might be teaching in New York this year too. But I've done San Francisco sports, Denver lighting. So there's a lot of different workshops they do. So
I guess my point is, I mean, you just made my point for me. You're a legend.
I'm not.
You're clearly good at what you do.
Well, thank you.
And I've always thought that, you stand out, and there's a reason why people around the country hire you to do that. So clearly God has gifted you with something, and love seeing you use it, because you've had some really cool stuff over the years.
Thank you.
So yeah. So where is, like, what? Give us a background of how did you get into photography? Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I was a graphic designer. I've known I wanted to be a graphic designer since middle school. Believe it or not, I used to design Nike shoes in class, and I sent some to them when I was in 6th or 7th grade, and they wrote me back a letter. I wish I still had the letter.
That's
they
really
actually
cool.
wrote me back a letter, and they said they liked the designs. They were being nice.
Right.
They were not good.
Right.
They were not good. But they said they liked the designs. They couldn't use them, but it was cool. They wrote me back. I don't know why I got rid of that, but who knows what happened to it. But anyway, I've known since then I wanted to be a designer, and I went to college for that, and I did that for 7 years, and then I moved back here in 2010 and got married to my first wife and had my son, and started my photography business as an accident, because I wanted to start a design company here because there wasn't a lot of design, and I got a camera and took the local community college photography class, because I majored in art at Western Kentucky University, but I didn't take photography. That's like the only thing I didn't take with art. I even took weaving.
That's hilarious now that I'm hearing this.
Basket weaving. Yeah, I even took that. I had everything else.
So wait a second. The thing that you wanted to do, you took all the classes, you were prepared, you did all the things, and the thing that you're now doing, you didn't.
That was not part of it.
That sounds like college for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Even though even though photography is part of art, and my degree was in art, it was not. I actually was enrolled in it for one semester and dropped it because it was going to be too expensive, because that was when you had to buy a bunch of film and stuff.
Yeah.
And the cameras are still expensive, but that's why I didn't do it. And so I bought a camera to start my design company because I wanted to do some web design.
Right.
So I needed to take pictures of whatever. And I took the class, and immediately I loved it. And so then I went and started taking pictures at middle school football games, and because I knew the people that taught that, Blown Up Middle, where I went to school, and so it was an easy in, because photography is a creepy profession, like the weird guy taking pictures of kids on the sideline that nobody knows, like that's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I had an in to make me not look creepy, and then I got asked to do a photo shoot. I bought some lights, didn't know how to use them, and it worked out. It just I ended up being very good at it, like immediately.
I mean, why? What do you think that was?
I think
attention to detail, maybe?
But I think I have a natural gift for just seeing things that other people don't see. When I walk into a room, I'm immediately analyzing it to see what a good picture would be in that room and how to manipulate it to make it work. And art is all like that. It's all similar in that respect. Like, you look at things like that, I think.
Yeah.
Even if it's not pictures necessarily, it kind of is. So it all goes together. So I did have a lot of formal training with that. And then I also have a natural gift for it. Like when I was drawing those shoes, and like I used to draw baseball players for baseball cards, like I could always draw pretty good. And my family on my mom's side all has an artistic background. So
okay.
That comes from that, I think.
Yeah.
And then photography just happened to be the thing that I'm best at.
I didn't know that.
Like I was a decent designer. I was pretty good. I was not great.
And you still do some of that, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I do like design a lot. I love it, actually. But I'm not, and I thought I was doing the thing I was best at, but I was actually way better at photography.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it until I started doing it. And then when I could put the two together, it really helped, because that's something that a lot of people can't do because they do one or the other.
Yeah.
But because I was trained in graphic design, that helped me look at things differently from a photography standpoint. And it also helped me know what I need. Like if I'm taking something for a poster or whatever, or an article for a magazine, whatever it is, like I know what the final product is probably going to look like. So I know how to take the picture to make it work for that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It all goes together.
So what's been, through your career, I was trying to highlight some of the things that you've done, but a lot of times, I think in a career, some of the things other people might consider like your highlights, some of the things that you should be awarded for or whatever is not necessarily what you're most proud of. What are some of the things in your career that you look back and you're like, man, this was actually really cool. I can't believe I got to do this, or this was an impact, or whatever.
I mean, the like shooting like Lamar Jackson and Jeff Gordon, like those, and Karl Anthony Towns.
I forgot about Jeff Gordon. Holy cow.
Yeah. And then when I shot the McDonald's All-American games, when I got to kind of become friends with Devin Booker on some level. Like he kind of kept in touch with me, which is really neat.
Cool.
And I met several of them, and like it was cool with like Ulyss because like I shot him 3 times, and so he like knew me by the end of it. And it was kind of not real well, but you know what I mean.
Right.
He remembered me and everything. So those things are neat. I do like I've shot the Titans, which shooting the NFL is like nothing else. It's unbelievable. You have to do it to understand, but like it's just such a rush being down there with those athletes because they're like aliens. They're so big and fast. They are. It is scary how big and fast they are. And that stuff is awesome. But like that has allowed me to be better at shooting like McCracken County and Tillman football. And like those kids appreciate what I do for them so much because I'm bringing the professional level of quality to a kid that is never going to play professional sports. And so and seeing them grow up from the time they're in Little League to the time they graduate is the most rewarding thing.
That's cool.
For me. Like one of the kids this past year, McCracken County had 14 or 15 seniors on the baseball team. And one of them said when I was taking his baseball pictures, he said something like, "This man has taken my picture since I was like 5 years old." And I don't know, it was just really neat. It almost made me cry to hear it, literally, because I was like, "Holy cow!" Like I didn't think these kids. I guess I did know that they look at it like that, but hearing them say it is a little bit different.
I'd never even thought about that till you just said it.
Yeah, and that's been the case for a while now because the kids that I first started photographing when they were in Little League, they were graduating in like the late, like 2018, 2019, like around that time was like those kids were the ones that I started taking pictures of at first, and so from then on, all these kids that are graduating, a lot of them I've taken their pictures since they were little bitty.
Yeah,
and because of sports,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so with sports has allowed me to do that because I take the team pictures, so I do when you start.
Now you got me curious. What's the biggest transformation that you've seen?
Transformation,
like in an individual, you started here and now they're a pro athlete.
That's an interesting question. I've never thought about that, but like I remember like specifically like Cash Jones, for example, like I got to be friends with him and his mom by the time he graduated. But when I remember in middle school, Zaire Hughes, who I also became friends with him and his mom because Zaire graduated the year before Cash, and Zaire went on to play at Kentucky for a little while.
Yeah,
it was probably the best one of the best, if not the best athlete to ever come through here. He was unbelievable. But I remember his mom telling me in the indoor facility at Lone Oak, we were doing 6th grade middle school football pictures for Lone Oak football. You need to be taking pictures of this guy. And she pointed at Cash, and she was like, he's going to be a superstar.
So not her son.
No, it wasn't her son, but Zaire was actually a big, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Cash was an amazing quarterback.
Yeah,
Zaire was.
That's just interesting.
I don't know why I remember that, but I do, and I didn't know who Cash was then, and that was before he even played quarterback. And then he ended up being like, but when he graduated, he was like the 15th ranked passer ever in Kentucky history or something like that. People didn't understand how good he was when he was playing at McCracken, but he was amazing. But I don't know, but then Zaire was one of the 15 kids to go get a full scholarship at Kentucky the next year, and so like those couple classes had a bunch of really good athletes. But I remember that specifically. I guess it's because I took both of their senior pictures and I became friends with their parents, and is so like I don't know. And then like Wells Purdom, who was also Zaire's age, like he was the first photo shoot I ever did. He wasn't involved in that situation, but he was there still. Because he was Zaire's age, so I don't know, like that, and he actually walked on at Kentucky.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
Yeah, so there's several kids, and then I shot him in a Kentucky game. I never saw Zaire in a Kentucky game, although he was on the sidelines when I shot Wells. I think he redshirted or something, but Wells, he didn't play, but he was there and said hi to me in warm-ups, and then like George Wilson, who is actually my age. I didn't photograph him when he was little because he's my age.
Yeah.
But then he played for the Titans too, and he would always say hi to me when he was doing warm-ups, at the NFL game. And
he's an awesome guy anyway.
Yeah, and that was just really neat because there'd be all these photographers on the sideline, and then the NFL players are warming up, and none of them are acknowledging anybody on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And he'd like catch a pass or like do or like whatever, do a drill and then turn around and say and like point at me and like say what's up, Matt, like and everybody, I don't know, it was just kind of neat.
He's that kind of guy.
Yeah,
he makes you feel important for sure.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That was really cool.
So I mean, is it fair to say that intentionally or unintentionally, like relationships and connections have been one of the key things for you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Westcott stuff with speaking for them and being one of their top pros, and which has allowed me to get a foothold with the workshops and teaching and doing YouTube videos because people know who I am because of that, because they endorse me or whatever. I guess I endorse them, they endorse me, whatever. But anyway, so like I promote them with their products. And that happened through connections because I met somebody at a conference that I went to when I first started, and that led me to meeting another person who ended up leaving, but then they were replaced by the guy that's still there now, who's a vice president. And had I never gone to one of those to begin with, I would have never met the person that connected me with Westcott, which is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know if Summit doesn't really have anything to do with that, but well, no, that's not true. I do teach for them now, and I went as a student. And I'm not, it's funny how things work out, and it is all meeting people and connections and networking. And people say that all the time, but that really is what life is.
Yeah.
You never get anywhere unless you meet people.
Right.
And I'm bad about that because I'm so introverted, and I don't like to go out and do anything. But most of the success that I've had has been through meeting,
I don't think you're as introverted as you.
Well, I have to act like I'm not, but I am.
Well,
because I have to work with people all the time, and I remember when I moved back to Paducah, I said when people would ask me what I was going to do, I used to say nothing with the public because I don't want to talk to people. And I sounds rude. It's not because I'm rude. I'm just shy. I always have been, but I have to act like I'm not now, and I've done it for so long that it doesn't seem like I am. But that's not the case.
Well, the reason I ask, and obviously I know this is coming, but this podcast, unfortunately, for the photographers out there that happen to be listening to this is not about photography. It is about it. At the core of it, I guess you could say it is about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's interesting that a lot of situations that business owners, leaders, CEOs, whatever get in is that they think it's about the business, but in all reality, it's really about the people.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be good, as what you've described, and I also think that it can be hard. Like, there's this joke in this group that I'm a part of. It's just like it always comes down. It's like, oh, people, because relationships can be difficult and personalities can be difficult to navigate, and like there's a whole struggle with that. But at the same time, like, for me at least, that's been one of the most rewarding is working through life with people and seeing them come out of situations and seeing them succeed like you. And so I think it can also be one of the most rewarding. But so tell us a little bit about your faith journey. I feel like ever since I began talking to you, it would get brought up here and there, and it's not something that I've ever really been good talking about. As a Christian, you kind of, it's a topic you're always kind of scared to really dive in with people, especially if you don't have a good relationship. But even when you do, it's like, oh, there's this big hairy thing out there you just kind of don't want to talk about, but you should, right? And so we talked about it, and it got brought up from time to time, but it was always one of those things like you never really know how to address it with people and what you can and can't say. But so tell us a little bit about that journey, because I think it steers us in the right direction in terms of where we want to go.
Well, I wasn't a Christian until 2017 after I got my divorce, and then I was like very lost. I started, my friend Tony and Jason, who own a rival cleaning business with you, two of my best friends, which is ironic because you're
great.
I consider
great people.
I consider you one of my best friends too, and you both own cleaning businesses. But they kept asking me to go to church, and I finally did, and it just Community Life Church, and it just became my home. And I actually go to Heartland more than Community Life now, but I still consider Community. I mean, that's when I got saved. That's I'm still good friends with their pastor Mickey Brown, and that's what really started my journey down that path. And like Jamie Bowler, my other good friend who I've already mentioned, like he's always been very strong with his faith, and he had a big role in it. They had a big role in it. I'd say you had a big role in it too. Maybe not as much as them, but I did know that you were an influence on me a lot because I knew that you had strong faith, and so that led me when I was very lost. That's what led me to being saved and like becoming a Christian and realizing what I was missing because I wasn't raised going to church. I wasn't raised having really kind of faith. We did go to church a few times, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't very prominent in my life.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think growing up for me, especially, probably I think a lot of people in the Bible Belt, if you will, would say this, but it's one of those things you're like you do once, and it's like, oh, now I'm fixed. Now it's that part of my life is over or fixed or whatever. And it's like that's not it at all. It is absolutely a journey, and I'm learning that the older I get, the longer my journey is, and the more I need Him, but also the more I've got to fix per se, which we all know we really can't fix by ourselves. But so that process is long. It's not just something that it happens and then it's over. Talk about that process for you. Like, what is that journey? What is that journey since you decided to make that decision? Like, what does that look like for you?
I guess Mickey always talks about how, like, I don't even know how he phrases it now that I think about it, but basically, like, when you first start out, you're an infant with faith, and then you just grow and like you become more mature with it, and you learn more and everything else. And I guess my journey has been, it's been up and down because not being raised with it, it's like a habit. Like you have to form a habit. It doesn't just happen immediately.
Right.
And so it's like I'll get really into reading and studying and like not missing church for like 2 years or something crazy like that, like I did for a little while. And then something will happen and I'll have a job. I don't usually work on Sundays, but something will happen where I have to work on Sunday or have to go out of town. And then it'll just start a chain reaction where I don't go as much. And then like going to Heartland, which I do really like Heartland, but it isn't, community life is special to me for several reasons. And so it's like, I've had to get used to it. And so not going to church on Sunday at Heartland is not a big deal as it was not going to community
you can go
life.
undetected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so also there's more anxiety involved with that one because there's so many people that I know there. It's a big church. And community life is not as big. So it's like I'm undetected every time I go there, even though it is like my home church, I guess, kind of in a way. It's like, and I like community, or I like Heartland. I want to continue going there because I think it's good for me. I think it's kind of a challenge for me to try to accept something different, and because when you change what you're doing, you learn more and you grow. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good thing, but it's also easier to get in the habit of not going once you skip or have to miss 1 or 2 times. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like that's a good example. It's like I'll kind of fall out of that habit of even studying when I do that, and so it's just things continually happen that remind me what I need to be doing when I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's really just becoming more consistent with it. And like this coming here was great because it I don't know, it makes me focus on what it means to be a Christian, what it means to have strong faith, and what it means to tie that into business, and what it means to be able to spread that to other people, which is something that I struggle with too, and which we talked about. When you brought this up to me to come do this, I immediately said, yes, it's a great idea, because I know personally I want to tie it into my business, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because part of it's because I'm a young Christian still, because I haven't been one for very long. And it is hard to talk about. And so it's like, how do you tie that in organically without making it feel forced to turn people off?
Yeah.
That's a very real struggle. And so I don't know, but things like this really make me realize that I need to make as much of an effort as I can to not let those lapses, to make them less and less the more I grow, to make it, if I do miss church, like not make it 2 Sundays in a row. If it becomes 2, then don't make it 3, and like not just forget about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I ever do forget about it completely, because I don't, but you just get busy with life, and it's easy to get sidetracked and get overwhelmed. And it's funny because when that happens, that's when I get stressed and my forehead breaks out and I get all, I stop working out as much, and it's because I've forgotten the fact that I'm really not in control of anything.
Yeah.
None of everything you do matters, but it also isn't. nothing is as big of a deal as you make it out to be.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, we all know what's going to happen, and it's going to be great. And so when you think about it like that, it makes everything else feel a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier to take.
Yeah,
like all of the
totally
hard things
agree.
you go through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree. Well, first I want to say, and I think it's important for people to hear this too. But like, I grew up in church, and so I've never been without church. I accepted Christ when I was very very young. I honestly don't even remember the day. Of course, that shouldn't shock you, as my memory is that bad anyway. But don't remember the date. I just remember, there being a time period in my life where I realized that, yeah, I need this. Like, I need this. I'm lost without this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a decision, but like, and then there, like, my faith has done this too. I think that's every Christian that I've talked to has that same experience.
Yeah.
So first of all, the hills and the valleys, absolute. I mean, I don't think that's. I mean, it's in the Bible. I mean, it's people coming out of Israel. So they were the same way. Like, it's just part of who we are as people. But the journey is, in my opinion, is long, and it's different for everybody. But for me, this will be the first year, and I'm 7 days behind now. But I am reading the Bible through the entire way this year, and it will happen. I've got to get caught up, but it will happen. So I've been a believer all my life, and yet this is the first time that I've read the Bible all the way through. Now I know the basics, and I know the concepts, and I know the really important stuff. Don't get me wrong, not as well as I should, but never read it all the way through. So as part of my journey, like that's where I'm at right now. So yeah, I feel like I'm right there with you, even though I've been a Christian for this many years. So hopefully, I don't know if that gives you any encouragement or not, but anyway.
No, it does, because I feel bad when it happens, but it's good to know that everybody else goes through the same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
No matter how advanced you are in your faith or how long you've been a Christian, it still happens, because life gets overwhelming because there's so much going on. I feel like now more than ever, there's so many distractions. It's super easy to get sidetracked and get on, and me and you, I think, are both easily sidetracked. So especially because we own our own businesses. So then once that happens, it's just easy to just.
Well, one thing that he's really been teaching me too is that it's really easy, like you mentioned, like those things happen, and for you and I are both fixers, and so it's really easy for us to naturally just say, oh, I'm going to fix this. This is a problem, or this is my challenge, or this is whatever. I'm going to fix this, instead of immediately going to, into prayer or whatever. So it's tough. It's definitely tough.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of the journey. So explain to me, like, so when I called you, I called you for a completely unrelated reason. It was merely because you had experience in podcast, you have attention to detail, you know what things should look like, right? So that's why I called. And then for you to say, well, actually, I've been praying about this, it kind of completely threw me off. Like, what led to you, like, really saying, all right, I've become a Christian, I've started my journey, I haven't missed a day of church for 2 years straight, but now I want to take it to the next step. Because it's not easy, especially to say, I want to do this in my business. What led to that? Like, what were your thoughts?
I mean, little things like my son telling me that he's scared to ask my mom if she believes in Jesus, like, because he doesn't know what she'll say, like things like that. And that because I wasn't raised by my parents going to church, so it's like I don't even know if she does or not, really. And like I'm sitting there thinking I don't even know how to talk to her about it, which is I mean, to me that's a problem, and I don't know how. And she's not. I'm using her as an example, but there's other people too. And I want because we're called to love each other and to spread the word. That's what our real purpose is.
Yeah.
And so, like, I have one of my best friends, Greg Hambrick, was raised in church, and his brother's a pastor, and he never really believed until I started believing, and I started talking to him about it. And he would ask me about it, and then I never forced it on him, but he asked me.
Relationship.
And then some things happened that were absolutely crazy that led to him getting, like, truly saved. And now he's very strong in his faith, and he reads the Bible every day, every morning. And so, like, things like that means a lot. And I'm not the one that did that. Jesus is. But he used me to help with
Right.
that. And so,
Absolutely.
but that's what we're supposed to do. And so, like, I'm very proud of Greg and what the journey he's come on since then. And so, like, I want to have that. I want to help with anything like that I can.
Yeah.
And it's like that one just happened. So I would love for that to happen with my mom. I would love for it to happen with other people that I know. And I own a business. A lot of people know who I am in this town.
Right.
So I feel like I could do that. I just don't know how without forcing it. And I don't want to force it because that turns people off. And so that's why when like Landry saying that to me about my mom really was one of the main things. I'm like, how can I even talk? I don't know how to talk to her about it without upsetting, like, or not upsetting her, but like I don't want it to seem like I'm pushing anything because but she may not ask at the same time. So how do you do that? How do you reach people? And I thought, well, my business is a good way to do that, but I really don't know how to do that either because I'm a photographer. I'm not. It's not. I don't know. It just seems like two different things to me. So how do you incorporate it with making it seem like it's real and genuine without, like I said, pushing it on people?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not an expert on this, but I do have some thoughts around it. And what I have learned over the years is that it is hard because like everybody uses the example like when's the last time that you shared Jesus, and it's like I think we always go to the example of we're in Walmart or we're wherever, and it's like you just randomly walk up to somebody. Well, that don't work. And there's a reason it feels weird. There's a reason it's hard to do. There's a reason it's awkward because it is awkward. It is weird. And so what I mean by that is like it really does take relationship. And if you don't have a relationship with somebody, if you don't have that, if you haven't torn down that barrier, that wall of trust and defense, like it's not natural. It's not going to be natural. And a lot of times it is going to feel preachy. I think that's probably why a lot of people get turned off by church and by Christians. It's like the people that do that, I'm not saying they're not devoted, dedicated Christians, but there's a method to it. And I personally think it's through love. I think it's through action. And that takes time. It takes relationships. So for me, when I started the business, very first of all, when I started the business, I really could feel God. I didn't hear like a divine voice, or I didn't hear Him physically talk to me, but I really did hear His calling. Like, hey, yeah, everything about owning a business is fine. The benefits of that, and of course, we all know there's some disadvantages. But the benefits are fine. If you do get the flexibility, if you do get the income, whatever, that's fine. But that's not what it's about. That's not why I'm calling you to do this. And I did feel like it was a calling. I really felt like He was saying to me, like, this is about my people. And so very early on, I knew that that's the direction I needed to really continue to stay focused, but I didn't know what that meant. And so time goes on, and I'm starting to hire people, and I try to love on people for the most part, but in all reality, I'm not being intentional enough. Because it like you said, it is hard, and sometimes it's just hard to know what to say and how to talk to people. But it wasn't until really I joined C12, which is a group for Christian CEOs, entrepreneurs, folks like that. And they actually have a program to help you identify ways that your business can really be on a mission for Christ, and what can you do to support your employees. And so there's a whole like system out there that will help you do that. But it was at that point that I realized, like, there's as many business people as I've been around, either locally or not, even other franchise owners. A lot of people don't talk about this topic, and a lot of people don't know. And so I think a lot of people have the same question that you had. They have the same question that I have about, like, what do you do? Like, how do you use your business? And so I've learned a lot through that. We're doing things, and I've learned ways that we can help people. But the biggest thing that I've learned through that whole process is the fact that it does come down to relationship. And if you're not building relationships with your employees, and it's really hard for us to do because we don't see them on a daily basis, but you can't learn that their mother has cancer, and that you can pray through them, through that with them, or you can't learn that they have this need, and here's how you can help them through it. So I think that's really important, and it all goes back to relationship. It's kind of what I was talking to you earlier. So through all that, I really, you kind of just inspired me. I've been wanting to kind of secretly do a podcast for a while anyway. I just didn't know really what it would be about, and then like when this came up in C12. I was thinking, that would actually be a really cool topic that I think could benefit some people, including me. Like I'm doing this whole thing so that I can learn from others like you, other business owners that already have it figured out, right? That are already implementing things in their business.
Yeah, I don't
because I've heard of so many stories in C12, with C12 members that they're doing this or they're doing that. One example that I heard is that a business, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the business name, but this business in particular gave all of their employees a Christmas bonus, but they also doubled that bonus. And they told their employees, hey, we want you to go bless someone else. So take this extra bonus, and we want it's yours to go out and to give to somebody else. Could be random, could be somebody, in your community that needs the help, whatever. That's your cool. Only duty is you've got to share the experience. You've got to come back to us and say, this is what happened. This is how it made me feel. This is how it impacted them. And I'm just like, wow. So there's some really cool things out there that I've got to hear about that I'm just like, man, there's no telling what other businesses out there are doing that I could learn from, and honestly help others who maybe want to take the leap but don't know how or won't, or because of fear or whatever. Because I think most Christians have that fear of I just don't know what to do, or I don't know what to say, and it's awkward and whatever. So that's really what this is about, is to help people kind of break down those barriers and to help them determine, hey, this is a good fit for me or my business. And yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's the goal of this. Hopefully that's we can help somebody along the way. I hope that I'm able to learn a lot from it, but that's the plan, is to each week that we do this. Haven't totally decided on the cadence yet, but every time we do this is to have a new guest on and talk about either struggles that people have, or hey, this is what I'm doing in my business and this is what I've seen that works. But
well, I think it's a great thing. It's going to be. I'm going to watch it for sure, because I want the help, because I don't know. I don't have any of it figured out.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good idea. So I'm glad you're doing it. I think it's a very good way to. I just try to mention Jesus whenever I can in any situation, not out of context, but anytime I can mention my faith. With photography, I try to do it. Like I've thought about like praying at my workshops at the beginning of it, things like that. And I haven't done it because I'm like, I don't know how that's going to be received. I don't know anybody in here.
Yeah.
So like, are they going to be open to that or not? Like, are they going to think it's silly? Like, and I don't really care if they think it's silly, but at the same time, I don't want it to be awkward.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've just tried to mention it any way that I can. Like I was on another podcast with my friend Jake Carr, who helped. He like kind of ran my last workshop about a month ago. He's from Chicago, but and we talked about faith on his podcast when he interviewed me, like during the workshop. So, and it wasn't the plan, but I mentioned it. I don't remember why, but I did. And like, so I remember when I went on a mission trip with Community Life a few years ago, we went to France and just outside of Paris. And there was a pastor there from the United States, and he lived there with his wife since he was in his 20s. And he was in his 50s, I think. So he was, been there for a while. And like none of the churches in Paris like are open. Basically, like 80% of the people or 90% of the people there don't even know who Jesus is. It's kind of crazy. So he said that he basically the way that he wanted to start ministry there. So he started a church in his house. It was obviously very small, but the way that he would reach people was he opened a coffee shop with his wife, and so the people that would be regulars would realize that he was a pastor, and he wouldn't like outwardly push it on them, but like he would mention it or it would come up, and he never would like try to, force anything on them.
Right.
And he would mention it and make them aware, basically. And then he said the same thing happens consistently. People inevitably, when they come in there enough, will start to ask questions, and that's how he has found a lot of people to go to his church.
Yeah.
Do that. And so like that just showed me, if you let people know and make them aware, and you do develop a relationship with them, like you said, they will ask questions. Like McCracken County's football coach that I'm friends with, that he doesn't work here anymore, or he doesn't work there anymore, but when he was there, we were playing golf during COVID, and he knew about my faith. And so he just started asking me questions randomly.
Wow.
And so like things like that, and like Greg asking me whenever he was upset, because the reason Greg started to ask questions is because he was going through a divorce. And he knew that I'd been through a divorce, and he was like, "Where's the strength coming through him? How are you getting this?" And so that's when I started to talk about it. But that was because we were best friends, or he was one of my best friends.
Right.
And so it's all the same thing: developing relationships, allowing people to trust you, and then loving them however you can, and then eventually, if they want to know, they'll ask.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I've always come back to, and that's the hard part too, is, I mean, I know it sounds bad, but I mean, the hard part is to love people really unconditionally, because, we've had employees here that we've shown grace and patience and love to, and, they'll throw it right back in your face. And, I truly don't think it's necessarily against us or whatever. People have got things going on in their lives. I feel like we're in a time in history where there is more internal struggle, and you can argue that it's spiritual or not, but I think there's a lot of internal struggle that people are having. I mean, our anxiety, our stress levels have never been higher. I mean, so loving people through that, being patient through it, even not expecting an outcome, I think is where it's at. I mean, that's the second commandment really that he gave us, is love your neighbor. So it's not easy.
No.
We fell at it a lot, but I think that's what he's calling us to do.
I agree, 100%. That's why I try to help people, like even people that message me on Instagram, things like that, for photography. I always try to answer them. Even like I have people that pay me for mentoring, but I still try to answer questions about people that don't. And most of them are very grateful when I do it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that because I want to be a good person, but I'm hoping some of that leads to them asking about faith also. What happened? Oh, wow. Okay. It was motion.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, that's all everything we just said ties together, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt Hernandez, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for asking me. This honestly, it may sound silly to you, because that would sound silly to me if somebody was telling me this, but it is a big honor for you to ask me to do it for the first one. It really is.
It's an honor to have you on here. I think I couldn't imagine anybody different for this first one. I think it makes too much sense. The connection that we've had over the years.
It's kind of crazy. We've known each other for 14 years.
Yeah,
really.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I greatly appreciate it. I think a lot of people can empathize with you and really connect with your story. So you never know what he's going to do to use even this, but through you. And I truly believe that. I don't think that I really am going to bring too much to this show or this podcast, but I think he could use it for some great purposes, and I'm excited to see.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. But thank you so much. It's an honor to have you, and yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with it. If I can come back on, I'd love to.
Absolutely.
This is going to be great. You're going to look back at this first and be like, "Man, I sucked." That's what happens every time.
Yeah. Well, we're hard on ourselves, so.
Yep.
All right.